Well, it's not quite been the year of the nurse in a sort of celebratory way that we were expecting it, but it certainly has been the year of the nurse in many other ways, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, the whole idea of Year of the Nurse was to try to promote the work that we do and the fact that the roles are so diverse these days, because they are. It's as the girls alluded to earlier, we're not doctor sidekicks anymore. We have independent practitioners out there. We have nurses running their own clinics, making decisions that years ago junior doctors would have made, or even senior doctors would have made. Yeah. So it was to kind of highlight the profession and the way it's progressed. As it is, COVID kicked in, and well, I think it was quite serendipitous, because it actually continued to highlight the profession in a very different way.
Mm-hmm. And have you been have people treated you differently at all this year, do you think? Have you noticed a difference in people maybe being a bit more appreciative of you over here on the Isle of Man, Bernadette?
Yes, I think they have. We've been very appreciative of that, and how the public have behaved and gone with the minister and everything. I suppose we're not very good at taking compliments in the nursing profession, but we do appreciate everything that people have been so kind to us. We worked up at the grandstand, Amanda, myself, and Ben was there too, and numerous other nurses and other staff from across the island, like one lady from our NSC and that, and we were well looked after up there by the public, but we saw it as our job, and we were there for each other, and we did well. We did well, didn't we?
And there's been quite the response as well with it. There was the applause in the early days as well, wasn't there? And there's the rainbows. Everyone's been doing the NHS rainbows and everything. So that must sort of compound that idea that people actually do recognise what you do and your worth, I suppose.
Yeah, it was lovely, and as Bert said, we were very appreciative of it. But I constantly banging on about, there were many key workers out there that did an equally fantastic job. I remember at the grandstand, somebody, I think she worked for Postal Services, saying to me, thank you for everything you do. And it was like, oh no, thank you. You're continuing doing your job as well. So it affected a lot of people, and I think as an island, really, we cope with it immensely well. Yeah.
And do you think you obviously couldn't possibly have known what 2020 was going to be like when it was nominated as Year of the Nurse and the Midwife? Has it, do you think, perhaps highlighted more than ever the importance of the nursing profession through 2020 when, as we've been saying, particularly on the Isle of Man, but in the UK throughout, just how important? I mean, we wouldn't have survived without people going above and beyond, as you say, all the key workers, but obviously particularly within the nursing profession.
Yeah, I think probably I've seen it a little bit more as far as the amount of inquiries into doing nursing, becoming student nurses, and that's picked up, which is fantastic.
So it has actually gone up. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and people quite prepared now to put the time in to get the entry requirements, because not everybody has the entry requirements when they first make an inquiry. But I think because they've seen nursing in a different light, and because it is that bit more challenging, more technical, so much evidence base and research behind it, it's actually encouraging more people to come along and apply for nursing.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Because we were talking to Mark from Abbey Dental earlier, and he had his nurse with him, Darcy, and I was saying to him, sort of what makes a good nurse. And as you've both just said now, there is a lot more to it than there was previously. So from your point of view then, Bernadette, coming to you, what would you be looking for in someone to sort of think they would make a great nurse?
I think earlier on Tamara said that she actually couldn't say why she wanted to be a nurse, but she just knew she did. And there is something deep inside you that does tell you that you want to be a nurse, although that wasn't me. But other people sometimes can see it in you. My mum saw it in me. And I think once you go into nursing, you're there forever. It just grasps you. But we always look for the core values that people might have and the good principles. So honesty and integrity and care and compassion. And we want people to be courageous nowadays as well, because, it's challenging times and multicultural society. And it's often that we're left with making ethical dilemmas. So we have to be very aware of ethical frameworks that we work in and legislation and everything, and to cope with ourselves and build our own resilience, that we're not always going to make people better, but we have to make them, as Ben said earlier, about that well-being, make them that they're able to live with the conditions that they have.
And do you get more of a mix now? Obviously, we were talking to Ben earlier on, studying mental health. Do you get more of a mix of men and women coming into the nursing profession now?
We wish we got more men. This year we have none. It's just our cohort is all girls and ladies. But in Ben's cohort, you're the only one.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's every couple of years we get men in, but we do try and get out there more to recruit for men. So any men or young guys out there wanting to do nursing, please contact us over at Kildare.
Do you think there's any reason behind that? I mean, do you think women see themselves as better carers, or is there any specific reason, or just
I
historic?
don't think women see themselves as better carers. I think men probably don't see themselves as carers, to be honest, or even think that nursing is for them. But as I said earlier, the job is getting more technical, so whether that starts to invite people more into the nursing profession.
So Amanda, if someone's listening is thinking they would actually be quite interested in maybe following this route, what would be the next steps? Because we heard before Sarah was saying that you can do pretty much everything on island, can't you? So what would somebody need to do if they are interested?
As much as I'd love to answer it, but really, that is her baby. That's what she does 24/7.
The applications are already open. They opened it from October, and the closing date will be the 27th of January. So please apply, and it's at ucm.ac.im for the application form. As contact myself up in Kildare for information if people just want that. But we're hoping this year, fingers crossed, our governing body is coming over to review us in March. Because we're so fantastic, I'm sure we'll be okay to get past this. But we're hoping to offer not just the Bachelor of Nursing programme next September, but also an integrated master's programme, so that we would have students coming out dual qualified. So somebody might come into nursing and say they want to do adult nursing, and on the fourth year they'll choose whether they want to do child, learning disabilities, mental health. So it'll be very exciting times for nursing at the moment.
And just finally, what do you think, this is to both of you really, what would you say to anyone who's sort of thinking, well, I'm maybe pondering the idea of going to nursing, what would you say you really get out of it? What is it which is the sort of the most satisfying aspect of the role?
I think there's so many, really. Professionally, you can just develop and develop and develop. And if you go in one direction, I've gone into clinical governance, which means I essentially do all the boring things that everybody else hates, but I love. Writing policies, risk management, complaints, things like that. But if I wanted to go back to clinical work, I can do. I can refresh. I can go down other avenues and specialise that way, and it can take you around the world. Mm-hmm. It's once you've got that qualification. So it's professionally rewarding, but also what you can do for people, seeing them, helping them get better, and always get better. Giving them making sure that the last days are, they're very comfortable, caring for the family as well, obviously, in palliative care. But it's just...
Yeah, I think we're in a very privileged and position to look after people at their most vulnerable. And they tell you things that they probably would never tell anybody else. It's that way. I think that's when you get the most out of it.